A man discovered a business opportunity while eating grilled corn. He noticed his son wincing from the spicy sauce on the corn, yet still enjoying it immensely. This sparked an idea. What if potato chips were made spicy too? He and his family bought large quantities of chili peppers and began experimenting. Their first attempts at making hot sauce were overwhelmingly spicy for the whole family.
Hot, like elote hot? Good hot?
No, bad.
While they were working tirelessly to create handcrafted hot sauce, many factories had begun using technology, test tubes, and syringes to mix chili extracts. Although this doubled the spiciness, Richard believed that locally grown ingredients combined with Mexican-style hot sauce represented the purest, most authentic flavor. To thoroughly mix the seasonings, Richard temporarily repurposed his hamster's running wheel. His family also scoured the streets, sampling various types of peppers until they finally created a flavor that was both spicy and addictive.
Ow, burn!
Burns good or burns bad?
It burned good.
Oh! Yeah!
Of course we did!
Though Richard's hot sauce experiment was successful, the executives busy with layoffs paid no attention to a janitor's suggestion, even mocking him by asking why he didn't just go straight to the CEO. Richard decided to do exactly that. He found the company's phone number and called the CEO, who was in Italy.
Thank you for taking my call. I have an idea that you need to hear.
I'm listening.
Okay, yes, sir. I'm Mexican. I'm proud of it. And there's a lot of us in this country, and we spend money on snacks just like everybody else. We eat Doritos, but not before covering them suckers with tapatio. It's like the more it burns, the more money we'll spend on it. So I thought, why don't I make my own spicy slurry?
You made your own spicy slurry?
Yeah, I did, and it's good. You can slather it on everything. Doritos, Fritos, popcorn, Cheetos. And the best part, sir, it is 100% Mexican approved. My family, my neighbors, they can't get enough. And I got a plan, Mr. Enrico, to get it to the streets, to get it to my people. I think it will save our factory, and will save jobs.
Save jobs, huh? That's a lot of confidence there, Richard.
Yes, sir. And you said in the video, think like a CEO. So I did.
You saw my video?
Yes, sir.
And you're a janitor.
Maintenance crew, sir. Look, if it's okay, I'd like to send you some samples, sir.
Richard, that's more than okay with me.
Richard successfully convinced the CEO and obtained an address to mail samples. Richard and his wife enthusiastically sent a large package of samples to Roger. When the CEO put the first flamin' hot Cheeto in his mouth, he couldn't stop eating them. He called Richard back immediately, not even taking time to wipe his hands, saying he was coming to America to inspect the factory. Meanwhile, factory executives angrily searched for whoever had alerted the CEO. When the factory manager discovered it was Richard, he publicly reprimanded him in front of the entire company. If Roger didn't approve Richard's suggestion and noticed the factory's continued losses, he might withdraw his investment, meaning factory closure and unemployment for everyone. Richard began to doubt himself. When he returned home dejected, his wife Judy, after learning what happened, continued to encourage him, believing he would succeed. The couple then studied persuasive speaking techniques together. On the day of Roger's inspection, Richard dressed in a proper suit.
I'm so proud of you, Mel. And I'll always regret not being the man that made you the man you were today. Always. Ahora, chingatelos. You do good, Mel.
When Roger's car stopped in front of the factory, the wheels of fate began to turn. Richard's destiny was about to be completely rewritten. The time-pressed Roger immediately called Richard to the conference room for a product presentation. However, Richard felt uncomfortable sticking to his prepared script, so he decided to improvise instead. Richard held up his flamin' hot Cheetos and described their deliciousness. When executives asked about projected market share, Richard didn't even know what the term meant. He responded by gesturing to show the length of supermarket shelf space.
This much market share.
This gesture made the executives chuckle. When Richard went on to explain in plain language the preference for spicy flavors among everyday people, Roger stood up and mimicked his arm gestures, completely ignoring the factory manager's reports and deciding to invest in the proposal. However, when Flamin' Hot Cheetos went into production, they didn't receive a strong response and instead became slow-moving items on supermarket shelves. The factory manager decided to discontinue production of this flavor. Richard was so discouraged that he questioned his life choices. He became self-destructive, feeling like a nameless nobody from the bottom ranks who couldn't make waves. His colleague Baker, however, felt he was being too hard on himself.
Embarrassment's never stopped you before? Ask questions. You wore my ass out with them. Look here, the person I met 10 years ago wouldn't blink. He'd find a way, any way to get it done. I don't want to look you up in 20 years from now, just to find out you're still down here on the bottom. Step up.
That night, Richard couldn't sleep. Talking with his family, he realized the factory hadn't advertised the Flamin' Hot Cheetos at all. Seeing his father's worried expression, his oldest son contributed all his saved allowance to support advertising efforts. Richard suddenly had an epiphany. He found his old gang friends and hired them for guerrilla marketing. Then Richard went to the factory to boost everyone's confidence in Flamin' Hot Cheetos. When someone tried to stop him, Baker immediately interrupted. Everyone knew the spicy chips weren't slow sellers because of their taste. With increased promotion, they would definitely get a response. Richard decided to move all the factory's inventory of Flamin' Hot Cheetos to vehicles outside. Then his silver-tongued gang friends began giving them away for free throughout the neighborhood. Richard's family went directly to supermarkets and bought all the Flamin' Hot Cheetos from the shelves. When other customers looked over curiously, Richard seized the opportunity to recommend this delicious snack. Customers were immediately attracted to buy them. Soon people throughout the city were frantically purchasing Flamin' Hot Cheetos. When the quarterly sales report reached Roger, he became curious about how much money the factory manager had invested. He learned that the manager, due to his prejudice against janitors, hadn't spent a penny. Roger began to take the Flamin' Hot Cheetos market seriously. He placed a 5 million unit order directly with the factory. That night, the nearly bankrupt factory came fully alive. All production lines started simultaneously. Workers who had been laid off were called back overnight for overtime. The machines nearly overheated but finally fulfilled the order. Six months later, the factory returned to its former glory. Baker greeted Richard with a smile and reintroduced himself.
You're now looking at the new plant manager in Bakersfield.
Yeah!
After expressing happiness for Baker, Richard assumed he was still a janitor and felt somewhat dejected. However, when he went upstairs to clean, Roger had been waiting outside an office door for some time. In front of Richard, Roger inserted a business card into the door. Richard was transformed into the marketing director. Everyone began applauding him. After composing himself in his new office, he shared the good news with his wife. Richard's dream had come true. He had risen to become an executive at Frito-Lay. Flamin' Hot Cheetos has now become a billion-dollar brand. Richard and Judy's love story is admirable as well. They've remained deeply in love through 48 years together. Behind every successful man is certainly the support of a great woman.